Good afternoon, YouTube, and anyone else tuning in on Facebook and social media. My name is Anthony Darby. I'm the CEO.
Microphone. Sorry, microphone. Get it closer to you.
Sorry, probably easier to hear me now. Anthony Darby. I'm the CEO of Peninsula Alternative Health and Peninsula Wellness. And ideally, we will be extending these events in person sometime in 2021. But until then, we're going to have a weekly lunch and learn. It'll be myself or Brandon or another director level or higher from Peninsula companies coming on here and giving a brief education. It'll be around 20, 30 minutes. So this is, I think, the third one that we've done. So still want to just try to set the table stakes of what's going on here. Today, we'll talk about why the quality of your CBD matters. And I'm going to go all the way down, kind of soup to nuts in terms of from the very start of the farming practices and programs in place of growing the hemp. I'll get into processing the hemp. I'll kind of talk about the different ways of processing and the final outcomes, whether it be isolate or full spectrum. I'm going to end lastly on methods of administration, and then discuss a little bit about how we can help folks that are going through the journey. So really appreciate you tuning in. Please don't forget to like, comment, and share this video with your friends on social media, Facebook, Instagram. We're really trying to spread the awareness. So let's dive into it. I think, conceptually where I wanted to start with the farming practices is because I think a lot of folks, they're at the store and they're looking at the different bottles of CBD and they're looking at their different options on products. And what they need to understand is even as important as that label is, you really need to go to the very, very beginning start of the genetics and the farming program. So genetics, I'll start with there, is something that I am really a strong believer in. You get what you start with. And what we've seen is a real maturation of the seed banks and a real evolution of the genetics that farmers have. Even just as short as 3 years ago, some of the offerings for farmers that were trying to start hemp programs were like, here's a mixed bag of feminized seeds and male seeds and some hermaphrodite seeds in there, and you're gonna have to plot all these, and you're gonna have to pull all the males out, and it was really archaic. And for farmers that were used to planting soybeans or planting other types of plants and products, it was really like almost going back to like the ice age for these guys. It was really archaic. And in just a few years, we've seen that in Colorado and out west, and even on the East Coast now, these hemp-based seed banks are providing the farmers with starting material that is that is really high quality and is hemp that's going to have high outputs of CBD. It's important to understand that there's thousands of kinds of hemp, and not all hemp is made for CBD extraction. A matter of fact, a lot of hemp is grown for the fiber qualities. There's other hemp that is grown for the biomass qualities. And then there's specific hemp, the most expensive hemp, and hemp seeds that will have high outputs of CBD in the final product. And you also want to maintain, that low THC content. So the genetics is something that is so important. If these farmers start with bad seeds, then immediately they're already on the back end, and the product is already going to be inferior because they're going to have to over-process the product because they're starting with such crappy raw material. Other farming practices that matter, everything from soil, pesticides, even organic pesticides, non-toxic pesticides that we think of. For instance, I know of farmers that will use things such as sulfur and other non-hazardous organic materials for pesticides. The problem is if you put those chemicals on the plant and then you take that plant and concentrate it at a high volume, you're going to concentrate everything else that's in it. So the end result is a high concentration of sulfur, which is not good in the end product. So understanding the farming principles and practices that are going to put the processor in the best position possible is really important. These farmers understand they can't have pesticides. They need to have a good pest management solution in place. They want to use organic soil when possible. Really follow some of the best practices for growing clean vegetables, and that will transfer over to clean medicine. So the last piece of the farming that I'll get into is I've kind of painted a picture of a lot of the good practices that can happen in the ideal situations, and I've talked a lot about our domestic hemp programs, but unfortunately, please be aware that not everyone is sourcing hemp domestically, and not everyone is sourcing hemp from farmers that are doing it the right way. The cheapest way to source hemp is to get biomass from overseas. And there are companies out there that are buying hemp from China and from other countries that have no testing involved. They're not using good farming practices, and they're concentrating these products, and you're seeing escalated levels of things like heavy metals and a lot of other harmful impurities, which could literally make the product deadly. And we try not to talk in grandiose terms here, but if someone is utilizing CBD and they are automatically immunocompromised, it's my responsibility to ensure that there's nothing in my product that's going to take a chance of further harming them or could possibly worsen their condition. But when I look at some of the gas station CBD, I look at some of these CBD stores, they sell CBD in every outlet possible. And when you look at these lesser outlets, these places that are not medically based and are just getting the Uzi font letters, and it looks like someone hand wrote the label, you got to question every bit of the process that was derived to get that product in that bottle, starting with the farming process and then the processing. So make sure what you can do as a consumer is you can at least ensure that your hemp is sourced from the U.S. Anyone that's reputable will put where their hemp is sourced, and they will vet those sources and make sure that they're getting the best starting materials possible. That's something that's really important. So after the farming happens and the cultivation takes place, you're looking at a 8 to 12 week cycle most times for hemp plants to grow. These plants, when they grow outdoors, they're huge. They get 6, 7, 8 feet tall. They look like Christmas trees in a lot of ways. So it's really neat to see them blossom. So after that 12-week period, the farmer, let's say the farmer's done everything right. Now what happens? So now they're going to come in there and they're going to chop down all those plants, and they're going to take them to a processing facility. And the processing facility is equally as important as the farming programs and the farming processes, because there's a couple different ways to do the extraction process, but there's a lot of room for error, and there's a lot of different ways that if the processing is not done properly to specs in a way that is compliant, once again, this end product could be very harmful to the user. So let's talk about, at the highest level, there's two major ways to extract cannabinoids and terpenes from hemp. And one is supercritical CO2. And this is where they literally blast the plant matter with CO2 gas, and they're able to separate cannabinoids and terpenes from the biomass in a way that is protective of a lot of the integrity of those chemicals. So it's a very expensive way of extraction, and it's not the most preferred, but it is a great way of doing it. And especially when you're thinking about, I keep referring back to our tincture, but I don't want to just specifically talk about a tincture. I want to think about CBD products in general. So when you think about a supercritical CO2 process, it's even more apparent and even more valued when you're into some of the things like vape pens or products that you were going to actually inhale. You would want to know that process is a little bit more refined. For processes like our tincture, ethanol extraction is actually is more than efficient, and as long as it's done properly with a certified chemist that understands how to get all of the extraction material out of the finished product, it's more than capable of doing what we need. So what we find is that the most common practice in the hemp space is like an ethanol based extraction, where you're using You're basically using that ethanol to break down the cannabinoids and terpenes. And in that extraction, you are going to lose some of the terpenes and you do lose some of the cannabinoids compared to CO2. But the benefit of it is you're able to do much larger quantities. And in hemp, unlike cannabis space, it's much more of a scale. You need more volume, you need more biomass, you need more plant matter. So these extraction processes that allow you to scale up really provide a lot of value to the business itself. You want to ensure that you're testing your products after they come out of the processing. So the processing practices, I mean, obviously the labs have to be clean. It's all of the same requirements that you would expect for someone making pharmaceuticals. And a lot of these processing labs look very much like a pharmaceutical lab. And you want to make sure that they're following all the best practices and all the protocols. They're using the best materials as possible. But even at the end of the day, if all that is done, the only true way of really ensuring that the processed product is of the highest quality is the testing side of it. At Peninsula Wellness, we feel so strongly about third-party testing and how crucial that is to the protection of our patients that we spend an awful lot of money, way more than we would need to use a MMCC certified lab. We use Atlantic Testing Labs. And the level of tests that we have performed on our products, especially our tincture, is far superior than 80 to 90% of the products out there. Lab testing now is table stakes. So almost every company that's of any weight of their weight in salt is going to be able to provide you with C of A's, which is certificate of authenticity, proving that their product was lab tested in the same way that it was supposed to show up in the on the label. The problem is that and I mentioned this, the level of detail that is lab tested is often insufficient. So when we do a lab test, we're going to test for every pesticide, we're going to test for heavy metals, we're going to test for cannabinoid content, we're going to test for terpenes, and we are really getting a full DNA breakdown of what is in our tincture, every single batch that we do. And like I mentioned, it's close to $1,000 every single batch to ensure that we have the highest quality product. When I look at other companies and they say, yeah, we lab test and third-party lab tested, and they put it real big on their box, and then I go to their website and I pull up their C of A's, and sometimes they're not there, and if they are there, every other comment is ND for not detected or NT for not tested, and they're not testing for metals, they're not testing for terpenes. They're really just doing the legality test to make sure that their THC level is under that 0.3%. And other than that, there's really not a lot of quality assurance in that product. So with us, doing that lab test, if heaven forbid there was ever an issue, before that product would ever go to market, we would know right away that there was an issue, and we would be able to have an opportunity to remediate that issue before the product got to market. So, we talk about processing. It's all about good manufacturing processes and having a clean environment and keeping things as pharmaceutical grade as possible. And then, of course, that heavy lab testing is going to be important. When you look at our products, you know that we have full spectrum products. So when you're processing hemp, there's kind of outside of the two methods that you would process, whether it be using supercritical CO2 or using a solvent-based method. Past that, the next question is what is the finished product that I'm trying to derive? Is it going to be isolate or is it going to be full spectrum? Isolate is by far the easiest to do, but I would argue the least valuable. And CBD isolate looks like white crystals. A lot of times this is what you see at the head shops, and you see at the gas stations. And the reason why you see it is because it is the easiest to process because you're stripping out everything else. But it's the least valuable to patients under our understanding of how the endocannabinoid system works. We believe that a full spectrum product that has multiple cannabinoids and terpenes and represents more of the full plant value is way more efficient in creating patient outcomes than isolate. Sometime in 2021, in a partnership with UMES, we're going to be publishing a paper. They're publishing a paper using our product that actually in a lab showed that in a head-to-head competition, our full spectrum product outperformed an isolate product. This is a pillar of my cannabis belief that has led me from the very beginning that isolate products have always been at a lesser quality of effectiveness and a lesser quality of product from a wide scale than full spectrum or broad spectrum, which is why we are so passionate about bringing broad spectrum products that are THC free or full spectrum products that have legal amounts of THC in them to market, because we believe that altogether is really how you address the endocannabinoid system in the most impactful way, and that's how you really create these patient outcomes, whether it's anxiety, whether it's aches and pains and muscle issues, all the different areas that CBD is proven to be helpful. We found that full spectrum is almost always preferred over isolate. The last thing that I wanted to wrap up with was just methods of administration, and I talk about this a lot, and this was almost kind of a contradiction to the quality of product, because what I wanted to get at here was how you take your products really matters, and even if you have very high quality products, you could still get different results based upon your method of administration. And I did a little head-to-head competition for myself. I've been really pleased with a lot of the results and feedback that we've gotten from the Wana brand of CBD gummies that we carry in our wellness center on site here at Peninsula Wellness. We were actually in a little bit of a lull, and we were low on tincture inventory as we were getting our most recent batch created. So I went downstairs, and instead of taking our full spectrum tincture every day like I've done for the last almost 2 years now, I substituted Wana gummies, and I kept the ratio pretty similar. So I take about 40 milligrams of CBD now in a tincture. It was at 60 and I bumped down to 40. So I substituted with 60 milligrams of gummies, as I knew that I was going to lose a little bit to the metabolization. When you eat something, your body's going to metabolize it in your stomach differently than when you take it sublingually and have it go in through your mouth. So I knew that I have two really high quality products here, so I was curious to find out, am I going to have the exact same results by taking high quality products the same? And unfortunately for me, I didn't find that. I found that even the Wana gummies that I know work for a lot of folks and I know are a really high quality product, I wasn't getting the same results as I was with our tincture. And that could be for a lot of reasons. It could be because my body prefers it sublingually as opposed to digesting it. It could have been that it's fat soluble. CBD is fat soluble. So in our tincture, it's MCT based, so it already has a fat carrier with it. Where when I was taking the gummies in the morning, I fast, so I probably was taking on an empty stomach without fat in my body, and maybe it wasn't being absorbed in the same rate. But it's important to try and go on these personal expeditions for yourself and try to understand, okay, it's one thing to have high quality products, but there's also another piece of that, and it's your body's going to interact with that high quality product, and your method of administration does matter. Some people prefer vape pens, some people prefer a gummy, some people prefer a sublingual tincture. There's a lot of trial and error, and that's how we can help. That's the last thing I'll end on here, is that's really what we're here for. I mean, when we first got into the market, there was really a shortage of high quality products out there, and I didn't have outlets or places to send patients that weren't local to be able to get these products except make it ourselves, and that's why we did that. But now there's a lot of high quality products out there. We're not the only one that makes a good product and makes a good tincture, but we do support it better than most, and that's really how we're here to help, is that when you come into the wellness center, because we have such a good variety of offerings, we're not really incentivized to try to sell you a tincture, to try to sell you anything. We can really take you through the journey and guide you through that journey and say, okay, for my mom, the Wana gummies are king. She had gastric bypass, and for some reason, our tincture doesn't vibe with her stomach. The gummies work great for her. So, we have the resources, we have the expertise here when you come in to be able to guide you based upon your individual needs, your habits, what you're trying to accomplish. and help you get a high quality CBD product, whether it's our tincture, whether it's our balm, whether it's a Wana gummy. We have lots of different options here, and we're the ones that you can trust to bring your problems to and to help walk you through matching yourself with a high quality product and making sure you know how to use that high quality product once you get it. So quality matters. It kills me when I see a gas station CBD or I hear someone say, "Oh, nothing works. I've tried 3 different CBD brands, and one was from a multi-level marketing company, one was from a gas station, the other was from a porn store." I'm just like, this is a losing battle. So it matters who you choose. Make sure you guys are choosing, choose Peninsula Wellness. We're here to help. PeninsulaMD.com. You can go on Peninsula Wellness's Facebook page, shoot us a message. Donnie Jackson or another one of our associates will reach out fairly quickly. We can do virtual consultations now. We have the ability to do all of this. There's no reason, if you're curious about CBD, that you shouldn't be reaching out to us. We are the place you want to go. So thank you for joining me for 20 minutes on a Wednesday. Tune in next week for another Lunch and Learn. Again, like, comment, share this video. Anthony Darby signing off. Thanks.